We are recording, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, getting ready. It's cold in the bus. Welcome to the Wodcast podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Ifft, coming at you from the Bingle Bus. That is my bus studio. You can just see, you can't see. Maybe I can give you a little tour of the bus. If you're checking out on YouTube, you can see this flashy bus that you've got a lot of like nice maple wood and some travertine and some marble going on. There's a squirrel on the wall. There's pictures of there's a famous boxer right there. There's some naked ladies in bathtubs. But this is where we do the show every week from the Bingle Bus, which I believe my wife is trying to sell and get out of my driveway. If you're listening to the show for the first time, this is a show that I do. Eddie Ifft, comedian, former comedian. I'm not a comedian now. Actually, I did a show last night. Illegal, totally. I'm doing shows. I'm starting to tour North Carolina, Minneapolis, all these places. I've got to go. I have to tour. I have no other way of feeding my family. So if you're one of these people that's going to give me shit, bring it at me. And come at me, bring me your shit, and then feed my children. Or just go to my Patreon and give me money. That's the easiest way to do it. This is it, though. This is the show, Wodcast Podcast. We talk about all things health, fitness, and a lot of CrossFit talk. Especially this week, we have a guy who is a completely misunderstood man, I think. I always wondered how my talk with him would go, how my conversation would go, how I would feel about him. And I can say after talking to him for 2 hours that I think he's cool as shit. And I really mean that. And I might just be an easy guy to win over, but I don't think that's true. I think I like to say that I only have one good quality in life, and that is that I'm a good judge of character. I like Dave Castro. I had a really good time talking to him. I asked a lot of questions that I've always wondered, and his answers were sometimes not what I thought they would be. And I just hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I really did did doing the interview. I hope you enjoy it. If you do like our show, there's a couple things you can do. You can go to Patreon. You can give $5 a month, and you will win a Myopox and a leopard claw. Well, you might not win, but there's a good chance you'll win. So $5 a month, you get this thing's like, you'd be surprised how much this thing's worth. And then this thing's worth. Both of them are worth a lot of money, like $450 total. You give $5 a month. You get the show. The show, I give you 4 episodes every month. I'm adding a 5th. There's going to be a 5th episode for all the Patreon people. The 5th episode is going to be pure comedy, or it might not be someone in the fitness world. Somehow they kind of will relate, or it'll be a 30, 40, 50 episode with Hunter McIntyre and Bobby Williams. Bobby's got his own show going on called The Barefoot Life. It's going to be launching soon. Hunter just competed, and it's on YouTube right now. You should go watch it. The Spartan Games, they brought in a lot of CrossFitters, a lot of triathletes, boxers, fighters, football, basketball players, and they all competed in these kind of Spartan Games, and Hunter kicked ass, and go watch it. It's really good. He's also got some good programming. I did his programming. I don't know if you can see these cannonballs on my shoulders, but he had me doing German volume training again, 10 sets of 10. I'm too old to do that shit. But you should check it out. His HAOS training, really good. We've got some awesome sponsors this week. Christmas is coming, and basically, we have some sponsors that take care of us, and I wholeheartedly believe in both of these sponsors. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos. I've been wearing Gooder sunglasses like crazy right now because I think they're cool as shit. They're if I had designed a sunglasses, is what I would have designed. They're like, especially the matte black ones, all of them. They have that kind of like Wayfarer look, but then they're matte rubber. So if you're doing anything that is a sport where you get sweaty, they don't fall off your nose. They don't fall off your ears. They stay where they are because they're rubber and they stick. They also are pretty stylish. I'm looking good. I mean, if I wasn't married, I'd be getting laid left and right. My wife is not going to like that. But these are like awesome stocking stuffers. Get the sunglasses, and they're not that expensive. That's the good part of them. They're polarized. It just shows you that all the other companies are bullshit, and these guys make a quality sunglass. It looks awesome. It feels good. It performs incredibly, and it's a lot less of the price. So check them out. Put them in your stocking stuffer. That's what you do. You stuff people's stockings. You can buy them for everyone in the family. Give them a pair, and they can all look as cool as me because I wear them all the time. All right. So if you want to do that, check them out. Apparently they've got performance blue blocking glasses too. Here's what you do. This holiday season, treat yourself and your friends and your family to a pair of Goodrs. It's Goodr. That's how they spell it. There's no ER. It's just R. Goodr. Head over to goodr.com/Wodcast. That's goodr.com/Wodcast. You're going to get 17% off if you do it through there. All right? The other thing, holiday season. This is the time when people get fat, they get unhealthy. Don't do that. COVID's around. You don't want to get unhealthy. This is the time of your life where you should be the healthiest you've ever been. Make sure you get enough sun. Make sure you're eating right. Make sure you're drinking right. And when I'm talking about drinking right, getting a lot of electrolytes and also, hydrating yourself. Don't be drinking alcohol right now. It's the worst time to drink alcohol. It's cold. It's winter. But you might really like alcohol. And if you do, Ritual Beverage. These guys make non-alcoholic tequila, gin, whiskey. It's incredible. You mix it with drinks, and there you are. Boom. All of a sudden, you have your favorite drink. I love a margarita. I don't like a hangover. So guess what? When my wife puts the tequila in hers, because she gets a little tipsy, I put the Ritual Beverage in mine, and guess what? I'm having the same drink as her, but I'm going to be able to wake up with the kids the next day, and she's going to be like, oh my God, can you help me? I don't feel good. And I'm going to be like, I feel awesome. So check them out. They've got all kinds of recipes for drinks. They've got it all, and it's a good thing to put in the stocking. People get it out, and you go, hey, you like to drink, or but maybe you went through rehab, or maybe you're really into your fitness program, or whatever it is. This is what you're going to do. Go to ritualproof.com. That's there's a Ritualizer. I'm messing this up. Listen to me right now. This is the important part. I'm going to get it right. Ritual Zero Proof, because it's zero proof alcohol. You know, the proof is like 100 proof or 80 proof. This is zero proof. Ritual, RITUAL, zeroproof.com. They got all kinds of they got everything. They'll tell you how to make eggnog. All right. So great holiday gift, great tool to people, satisfy them with their cocktails without their alcohol. Tastes great, great flavor, great body. It's got the heat. It delivers the heat. That's what you like in the alcohol. Get $5 off if you go right now to ritualzeroproof.com, ritualzeroproof.com with the promo code Wodcast Holiday. That's Wodcast Holiday. Wodcast Holiday at ritualzeroproof.com. And thank you to all our sponsors that have helped out this show. And thank you to all you listeners who have been there with us through thick and thin, through all the changes we've made. Go to iTunes and leave a comment, please. I beg you. Some of them are funny. People are like, Eddie sent me here. Show's great. That's it. 5 stars. Boom. Boom. Up in the algorithm. I don't understand how an algorithm works. They just tell me you get people to do that kind of shit, and you're going to go to the top, baby. You're going to be the top. You're going to beat out Ben Greenfield and Mind Pump Muscle, whatever they are called. Those Mind Pump guys, the 3 guys that stand in a circle jerk and talk about fitness, because they all are fitness freaks. They're really good. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like all buff and they know everything. I'm not going to shit on them because they do know a lot about fitness. I watched their videos. So if you want to know like technical stuff, they are really good at what they do. I can't criticize them. I can make fun of them because that's what I do with everyone. But if you're out there, guys, I want to fight you. That's what I'm saying. All 3 of you at once. I will take you down. Does it look like I've been drinking? Because I haven't. I've been drinking Ritual Zero Proof. Shots of it. Shots. Shot. All right. So I don't know why I'm plugging other podcasts, because I want to beat them. They're number one, and I want to take them down, people. It's about time. It's about time. I'm in my bus right now, in my driveway, and I wonder if neighbors walked out by, and they're like, what the fuck is going on in that bus? And if neighbors walk by, what the fuck are they doing out? Because it's like 20 below zero up here in Alabama. Okay, it's not really. It's probably like 50, but it's fucking cold. And why are they out? It's 9 o'clock at night when I'm recording this. I'm losing it, people. I'm losing it. I've been home alone for like a month, and it's been wonderful. Now I got to go in 4 days back to North Carolina, see the wife. CrossFit Cornelius. Are you open? Are you outdoors? If you are, I'm coming. I will be there every day. I will work out every day for the next 2 weeks with you guys. We will do a podcast from there. We'll promote your gym. We'll do whatever it takes. If anybody listens to this from CrossFit Cornelius in Charlotte or Lake Norman, North Carolina, contact me. I want to come to your gym, but I just hope you're outdoors. I don't want to be indoors. If you're having trouble indoors and you want to clean up your gym, Johnny Beal's your man. Go to, they will take care of you over there at Purifly. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah. Comments, Patreon, we're going to start doing these extra episodes. So get in on the ground floor. Be like, hey, I was a Patreon. We should come up with a name for our Patreons. Like you're a wad, you're a Wadion. I don't know. You're a Patrioton. You're give money to the guy who needs it. Yeah, that's a good name. No, I'm also going to start putting on, I think I'm going to start this site like bonfire.com or something. I'm just going to provide all kinds of merch for you guys. The pretty cool Wodcast hats that have that logo on them. They're black and it says Wodcast Podcast. I'm going to do a lot of t-shirts with like the logo or the big logo or the little logo. And on the back, it's going to say cool stuff like your warm-up is our workout, or hey, this shirt doesn't come off for workouts, or like something about WOD. My favorite WOD is rest day. I'm going to make all kinds. I'm just making these up off the top of my head right now. And that's what these shirts will say. And you're going to go into the gym when it finally opens, and people are going to be like, oh my God, that shirt's so funny. Where'd you get it? And you're going to be like, I listen to this show called the Wodcast Podcast, and the guy's so fucking funny. And then that's how you're going to get the shirt. You're just going to go on here. You're going to buy it. And do I sound like a whore? I'm being a whore right now. I'm selling everything. If you have any comments, you know where I am. I'm at Instagram. I'm at Eddie Ifft on Instagram. You can find me anytime because I'm just right there. My phone's attached to my palm of my hand, and it's just like my new brain. And if you want to get a hold of me, you just go to @Eddie Ifft and you send me a DM, and I'll get right back to you. You say, hey, I hated the guest, or I hated you, or I loved you, or I loved the guest, or you should do more with CrossFit, or you should do less with CrossFit, or I see you as a Spartan. No, I'll never be a Spartan. All right, so are we ready to get to this episode, or do I have anything else to tell you? I just know my shows. I should put my shows up on. I know I'm in North Carolina. I got a show in Charlotte on the 10th, and then I have a show on like the 23rd. Maybe that's the date. I can tell you right now because I have what's called an iPhone, and in my iPhone I have a calendar, and my calendar tells me all my dates. So I'm going to tell you right now where I am. On the December 11th, that's Friday night, I'm at the Lenny Boy Brewing Company in Charlotte. And then on December 23rd, I'm in Concord at the Comedy Zone, Concord, North Carolina. And then we go into January. I'll be at the House of Comedy in Minneapolis. Well, it's not going to be cold there. Mask up, people. Mask up! Late January, I'm going to be in Las Vegas at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. February, I'll be at the Improv at Harvey's in Lake Tahoe. Let's see if Gavin Newsom shuts that down. and then I'll be at the House of Comedy in Scottsdale, Arizona. So please, people, wear your masks and let's get my job back. All right. Now I know a lot of you guys are hurting out there, so I'm wishing you the best. I hope everybody's staying healthy. I don't wish this on anybody. Please wear your masks. They work, and let's get through this shit. Let's get vaccinated. Let's put this shit behind us and get back to working out 4 times a day. That's what we all need, right? You know, we need to just wad more. All right, I'm rambling. Time for the man, the myth, the legend. That's what I call it. That in the intro, I said that. Why would I say that? It's like the worst way to intro someone, because look, I've got a lot of respect for this guy. I really do. As much as I fuck around, I even told him during the show I've shit on him. The guy has done amazing stuff. The CrossFit Games would not be what it is without him, and I can tell you from a man who's produced events, a man who's been involved in sports all his whole life, that what Dave Castro has done is incredible. And I really had a fun time talking to him, and I hope you guys enjoy it, because I asked all the questions you wanted me to ask. And guess what? I got your questions after on the Facebook site. I got them after I talked to him. And I asked almost every question you wanted me to ask, but you don't get credit. So I feel like a dick. But I want to thank all of you guys for submitting those questions. It means we all think alike. So send me messages. I want to hear, who do you think you want to hear as a guest? I got to hunt down Greg Glassman, tear up that NDA, and get that conversation with him. I'd love to have Eric Rosa. If you guys want to reach out to him and tell him, you guys tell CrossFit head, I think he's Eric at CrossFit.com. Just be like, dude, you need to be on the Wodcast. I think that would be a great Christmas present for all of us, because I will grill him. I will put him through the ringer. I will not. You know me. I'm an easy interview. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Drum beat, please, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Wodcast people, this is the day you've all been waiting for I think we've been doing the show for 8 or 9 years now, 9 years. And we got him. We landed the big one. We've talked about this forever. We never thought we'd see the day. And then he went out and did about 50 other podcasts. And I was like, I think we can finally get him. We're going to get the sloppy seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Castro, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited to chat. I want to add, I'm really I'm envious of your comedic journey. I'd love to have the balls to actually write something and step up to an audience and try it one day. But I'm fascinated by comedians and what they do and how you guys your craft. You put yourself out on the line, and it's commendable. It's not easy. It's not easy to get in front of people and to try to, as you know, try to entertain and inspire them.
Says the guy who has to get up and speak in front of crowds that I've never. I think a few times in my life I've done shows for like 10,000 people, and you go, like, I watch guys like you, and I'm like, he's got a bigger crowd than I've ever gotten.
Yeah, but they're not all there to see me. They're all there to see. That's the difference. They're there to see the show and the athletes. I'm part of it.
Same thing though. Usually, whenever I'm in front of a crowd that big, it's because I'm opening for someone much bigger than me. I can't draw a crowd that big. But I'm thank you for saying that. I don't think what I do is a talent. I think of it more of as a disability. And I really, really do. I think the best comedians I know are really, really flawed people. And that's what makes them, like, there's a lot of guys way better than me because they're way more flawed than me. But
interestingly, you might be able to say that about some of the best musicians, some of the best authors.
Yeah.
I think that's that same kind of thing that's going on in their head or in their life might contribute to great music and to great stories.
Yeah, it was Colin Quinn said that to me once. He said, like, you don't write comedy when you're happy. You don't write comedy when you're. I mean, you do, like I do. I like the happier I am, the funnier I am. But like if he made a point, he's like, if you're taking a limo to a gig, there's nothing funny about the limo. He's like, it's when the limo breaks down, you got to get on a train, and there's a smelly guy next to you. That's where the comedy comes in. And so comedy comes from bad shit. It doesn't come from. There's nowhere good, but it's funny you said that about like wanting to do it. I think everybody has that kind of like, everybody wants to be a rock star. Everybody wants to do stand up. And I've been working on a project with Albie Layer, who's a top big wave surfer. And I'm like an average surfer at best. I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm so average. And he likes stand up comedy, and he wants me to surf Jaws. And he's going to do stand-up comedy. And he's more scared than I am. And I'm scared shitless. But I would think it's funny, like, take someone like a former Navy SEAL, like a guy who's like done all this badass shit. It's like, here, you do stand-up, and I'll try to go like into the field and shoot guns. And it's people have different fears.
Well, when you come up to do Jaws, let me know, because that's not too far from me.
Oh no, Mavericks is right near you, and it's it's going off this week too.
Jaws is in Hawaii.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Mavericks is happening this week? Mavericks
is probably going to be 20 foot or so this week.
Wow.
It's so spooky.
Okay.
I actually have to go up there tomorrow. I'm going to San Luis Obispo to get a dog.
Oh, cool. What kind?
It's called a McNab. You ever heard of it?
No.
It's a ranch dog. It's a mix between a Kelpie and a Border Collie.
Very cool.
And I see you. What do you have, a dogo?
Yeah. Dogo.
Yeah. Do you hunt pigs?
Yeah, I do hunt pigs, and actually, there's a photo of some pigs I've killed before. And she's in training. She hasn't gone on a full hunt on her own or with a pack yet, but she's going through the process.
What do? The dogs grab the pig once they catch it by like the tail or something? How do they?
No, this breed, they grab it by the neck. And they hold it, yeah. And a pack of them grab the pig by the neck and hold it.
Because I was in Hawaii doing a gig once, and these ranchers invited me out they heard me on Joe Rogan, and they were like, hey, we want to take you hunting. They're like, can you ride a horse? I'm like, not well. And I wasn't going to go. And my wife's like, you got to go. It'll be a great story. And they're like, we're going to pick you up at 6. We're going to go up into the mountains. And then the dogs catch the pig. And then I go, and then what do you do? Do you shoot it? And he's like, no, we get off the horse, and it's a race to see who can stab it first.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I mean, is that how do you kill the pig?
Well, typically I shoot, but when you travel outside of California, in some states, using the dogs to catch them and stab them is the way guys do it. And so the dogs will get them. Someone will come up from behind, grab the rear legs, because once you grab the rear legs, that takes the power out of the pigs, essentially. And the dogs are holding them. And then you get a knife, a big dagger blade, essentially, and stab them in the heart.
Yeah.
Again, in California, it's not so common, but elsewhere.
But you've got wild boar on your property?
Yeah. And here I hunt them. Typically, I use a rifle, but I've also killed one with a bow, killed another with a crossbow, and different caliber rifles.
Do you eat the meat?
Yeah, and
so
if I don't eat it, I'll give it to my neighbors who make carnitas out of it.
I love wild boar. I love it. I think it's like one of the best meats. How many would you say are on your property? Because they're pretty much like a rodent, aren't they? They just
right now, not a lot. Last year, there's a huge family that was coming. They didn't really live on our property, but they were crossing through our property and my neighbor's property. And last year killed over 10 and basically wiped out that family.
Oh, wow.
So they haven't returned back. I'm waiting for a new family to come over. Two things: I shouldn't have killed them so fast. I should have let them kind of rebreed, grow their population for hunting. But it's depredation because they're a problem. And so my neighbor is a cattleman, or he leases his land to cattlemen, and they tear up the ground. They do a lot of damage. So, and I have a depredation permit for our property too. So.
I like how you're trying to cover up how you said I wiped out the whole family.
Yes.
I just wiped them out. Hey, now your mom's coming with you. No, I mean, I love animals, but I think hunting's fine, and I also, because I believe that it's good for conservation and all kinds of things, and I also like, I've never killed an animal in my life other than rats that infested this. I'm in a bus right now. This is my studio, and they ate they ate through the wires, and I was like, you guys are gonna die.
Yeah.
They did. At first, I tried all these humane treatments, and then when they chewed up $10,000 worth of wiring, I was like, die, fuckers, die. And
We have a problem with ground squirrels. And right before we got on this call, I saw a few. So I have actually in the back up here, I have my rifle hanging on the wall, and then I have a little tripod. And so I'll stare out that door and drop ground squirrels whenever I see them. And the problem with them is they leave these huge holes that are like tripping hazards or run hazards for when we run or hazards for when I ride my horse. So
do you
get a lot of practice there.
Do you tell Matt Fraser that, like, hey, you're going to be okay out there because I killed a bunch of squirrels for you?
Well, when I brief the athlete, not the squirrels, but when I brief the athletes, I talk to them about some of the animals we've seen here. And actually, these prints right here are prints that I printed for the games to use as visuals to show the athletes some of the creatures that are on the property. To include, so here's one of the pigs. This was a big, almost 300-pounder.
Oh.
Yeah. So he was giant. And so I showed that to the guys to show them what's back there. And then the other big thing was this guy, this mountain lion.
Yeah.
We saw him on the course, basically. And that's the only image. I have a handful of game cameras out on my property that have collected literally tens of thousands of images of game, of turkey, of deer, of coyotes, of the boar, of squirrels, all kinds of animals. But that's the only image we've ever captured of a mountain lion. And I've never seen them either.
So I've never seen one. They are all over our neighborhood. Well, actually, in the Santa Monica Mountains where I live, up above Malibu, they put GPSs on them, and they had 11 of them. But this year there were like 15 babies born, and I did a run with Tommy Hackenbrook and Hunter McIntyre where we ran the entire Backbone Mountain, which was Backbone Trail, which was 68 miles. And we had to run twice at night. Like, we started at night and ended at night. And I lost them for a little bit. And I was all alone out there, and I was just like, I'm going to die. Like, I lost them during the daytime because my knee got bad, and I just started, like, limping down this hill. And they went ahead, and I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. It's going to be nighttime, all alone out here, and I'm just going to be stalked by mountain. I just pictured that's not the way I wanted to die.
When was that?
We did about a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And Tommy will make you proud. The whole 68 miles, didn't complain once.
He never complains. He's strong like that. He's good like that.
I complained. I made up for him and a whole bunch of people that didn't even run it.
Did Hunter complain?
No, Hunter was like, we started with like 18 guys and we ended with 5 of us. And I was like, weirdly, I don't know how I did it. I thank Hunter and Tommy, but I was like the only non-professional running it. And all these guys kept dropping out. And when they would drop out, it was just like David Goggins. I had listened to his book when I was training, and I was stealing their soul. As they would drop out, I was like, see ya, dude.
Yeah, totally. That's it right there.
But
small victories in people's defeats.
Hunter was a freak. Hunter was running forwards to the forward group, then running back to us, and then going back up to them. And then he drank 4 beers on the run.
Is he really fast? Like, I don't know much about his running accolades.
He had a 4:15 mile.
Damn.
And he did that deadlift and 500-pound deadlift 5-minute mile. He did that no problem. And
what's his 3 mile time? Do you know?
No, he's not super fast. And now he's so heavy because he beefed up to try to like get into CrossFit that he's not as heavy. But I watched him the other day. He did his own kind of race. He organized an event, OCR Superstars, and I commentated it was a 10K, or I'm sorry, 5K.
Yeah.
It was a 5K. I take that back, 10K. And he ran it in 32 minutes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All these like pro runners there were like trying to keep up with him, and I thought they were going to crush him, but
he ran a 10K in 32 minutes.
32 minutes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's fast.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was just released today. Joe DeSena, or what I think that's his name, the guy, the Spartan guy, invited a whole bunch of CrossFitters.
I heard about it.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
It looks pretty cool. I think you'd find it interesting. And Hunter,
I wasn't a fan of Hunter's and the whole games thing when he came to the games. I wasn't a fan of how that went down, and I wasn't a fan of. Look, I come from an environment where like you have to earn your right to play with the boys, and you have to go through tough selection. And I get he trained hard, and I get he was into CrossFit, but he wasn't at their level.
No,
you know what I mean?
No,
and he didn't go through our selection process.
It's so funny you say that, because I would think because I know how you like to poke the bear. And I would have thought there was a little part of you that liked him poking everyone, because that's all he was doing.
I do like that. I do, but I don't think he should have been rewarded with the spots for games. I would rather have seen that from like a guy at that level. That's the type of guy I want to see poke the bear. Be at the top, poke the bear, and walk the talk. And,
so I followed it because I'm so close to the guy. I know him because he lives up here and we're good friends. And I followed it, and I kind of pushed it myself a lot. Like Armin was the one that used to be the co-host of the show that actually asked Glassman, and Glassman was like, yeah, put him in. And I was like, you're going to regret this shit. But I think it's good for the sport. It's like Tyson fighting, or not Tyson fighting again, but like the Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor kind of thing. Like, you throw this wild card in, it probably brought a lot of publicity, and I agree with the earning it kind of thing. And
that being said, my interactions with him, he's a very pleasant, nice guy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a lot of interactions with him, but the short time we did talk, I did enjoy my interactions.
Oh, you'd get a huge fucking kick out of the guy. I mean, like you'd love him. He's hilarious because he's an absolute idiot, and he's a beast. He's got an engine like no one I know. But the other day, something like his resting heart rate was, I forget what it was, but we're like, you're dead. like there's something wrong with you. But I saw both angles. I saw people that were complaining about it, and I saw the people that were getting behind him, and I was like, that's the world we live in right now. And we live in this social media world. But in saying that, I do like the way you program. I could shit on you for a million things, because I shit on everyone and everything, but I do like your programming. And I think if the programming was changed in a little bit, that I think he could have done better. Like say you did the ruck second, then he would have been a little higher up. And he fucked up that handstand thing. I text Zach Forrest I was at the games, and I text Zach Forrest. I go, this is like a trick. This is like a Castro trick, isn't it? I said, because if you try to go fast in this, the weight seems so little that would it start out with the row, then the handstand walk?
No, the row, the push press.
Push press. I said the light push press is what's going to throw him. He's going to fly through this. And then he's not going to realize his shoulders are going to burn out on the handstand walk. And
he was doing pretty good on it, then he blew up.
So I texted his coach, and I said, tell him to fucking pace this thing. And I told him afterwards, like, why didn't you pace that? He goes, because I was in the second heat or third heat. And he goes, I figured the way they were making cuts, that I wasn't competing with the guys that I was in the heat with. I was competing with the better guys. So I thought I had to, and I was like, and that was not a lack of fitness. That was a lack of experience and a lack of knowledge of gaming it. So I think, look, he's not as strong as any of these guys, the top guys are, but he is getting up there with guys like James Newberry or some of the guys that do perform pretty well when it comes to strength, that have strong engines. So I think he
might be a little too big too in general.
Tall. It's funny when I had Froning on the show, and he goes, how tall is he? I go, he's 6'2". He goes, nah, he's never going to do it.
Yeah. That's too high. That's an extreme outlier. 6'2". There used to be a time when Tommy Hackenbrook could do well at the games and even podium. but not this age. I mean, there's an ideal height, and 6'2" on. That doesn't mean guys that are 6'2" won't make it to the games, but they're not going to perform as well at the games as the guys in this sweet spot of 5'9" to 5'10", 5'11".
So you have all the data in the world. Armin figured this out. This was like probably 5 games ago. He did, because he's weirdo. Armin's the weird. He's like Rain Man. He did a spreadsheet and figured out, was there any correlation between one event and how the competitors do in the CrossFit Games? And he figured out it was Jackie, that the order of Jackie of how people finished is how they kind of finished in the games.
For that one particular year.
That was that one particular year. And I said, well, that could basically, that could save them a lot of time and money and effort. They could just do Jackie and go, all right, we know now.
If you would have told that to Greg back then, Greg would have said, all right, let's just do Jackie then. That's like games.
That takes all the fun out of it. And that's hence why I like Hunter in it. I mean, I think it fucked with so many guys. I mean, there were so many guys so angry about that.
I don't feel like I heard it that much, but I also don't look. I'm also not going to the areas to hear the chatter about it. But like in terms of the noise I was hearing about it, not a lot of people were complaining to me. Athletes especially were not complaining to me. Doesn't mean they weren't, but I just personally had some issues with it, but I didn't see a lot of the chatter around it.
So
I actually thought more people were into it than not, if anything.
Yeah, because a lot of those guys go and compete in his stuff. Like he'll have them in High Rocks or Spartans, and he just destroys them, So he thought, well, I can go into this. And I was like, Hunter, if you want to, you got – it's so like a week – or not a week, like a couple months before, I go, work on your gymnastics, go see Dusty Highland, or go meet with somebody and work on your handstands. And I said, those are the little things where you're going to get caught, because these guys there's no chinks in their armor.
No, not the top ones, that's for sure.
And no, but he's an interesting guy. He's an idiot, but he's but I also, everybody thought you were going to like program him out of it. And I'm like, he can't think that way.
No, I don't think that way. And I've talked about this other athletes and people. I don't really program for people. I program for like the test. And then later on, you might look at like after the fact, after things are created, sometimes you'll start playing the game of like, I wonder how this person will do, or I wonder what that person will do. But like in the initial stages of creating it, you're not thinking of individuals, especially outliers. If anything, you're thinking, I think of an ideal that I'm programming for, and to test and to find weaknesses, essentially.
Were you worried with this year, with only having 5 there, that it was going to happen, that it was going to be a runaway the final day like that?
I wasn't worried. And interestingly, I programmed that event for all the 30, the original 30. So there was a period where we were planning on flying the 30 men and the 30 women out to do the games here. So basically the same event and the same field was created for all the athletes. It would have been very fascinating to see how different everything would have played out if some of those events would have had 30 scores rather than 5. I think it'd be very different. I still think Matt would win, and I still think Tia would have won, but it would have looked a lot different, maybe even on the 2nd and 3rd placing spots. And I don't think they would have, if we would have had a deeper field, I don't think they would have ran away with it in terms of all those event wins like they did do. But so that being said, I wasn't surprised. That was the opportunity for Tia and Matt to take so many victories with such a smaller field.
Yeah. I was joking about it the day of. I was like, they don't have to go. I don't think Matt had to go to the 3rd day.
Yeah, basically they both already won. And then on the final, before the final, he had a lot of questions. He was asking me like, hey, basically, how much do I have to do? Do I have to do it? What happens if I hurt myself? Am I still going to win the games? Like he was trying to just get all these answers. Like he wasn't going to not do it, but he was basically asking questions that, what if he didn't do it? What if he didn't? What if something happened?
My favorite part of it, which I think is what CrossFit, it encapsulate CrossFit for me, is when you turned him around at the run. They're like, now go back. And my question is, if he had gone, oh, you're fucking with me, and he stood there for a while and was like, you're fucking with me, and then he got beat, would you have felt bad?
I wouldn't have felt that. I would have, because here's the thing: if he would have stayed there and he would have got beat, that would have meant he watched these other guys keep going and like refused to accept it. I actually think, I really do think I should have played on that angle more instead of. I followed up, so I told him, "Hey, turn around." He flipped me off, and then he stopped. And then I followed up, and I said, "Hey, no, I'm serious. You really need to turn around and go. I'm not joking," or something along those lines. I kind of wish I wouldn't have done all the follow-up.
Yeah.
Just have seen how he would have handled it. Because the other athletes, you know, they turned around and they went.
That's an awesome photo, is him flipping you off. It reminds me of, there was a surf competition, and it was Joel Parkinson and Kelly Slater, and the way surfing scored is one guy gets the wave and you have priority, and the other guy has to get off the wave if you're going. And Joel Parkinson is in this like amazing barrel, like the greatest barrel that's going to give him a 10-point wave that he's going to win the competition, but he didn't have priority. And Kelly Slater just drops in, and you see Joel in the barrel just going, fuck you. And that photo's great. And then the photo, have you seen the photo where the other guys are coming down the hill? And Matt and not Samuel, who was with them on the run?
Yes.
Yeah, they're running up the hill, and the guys are coming down and realize it's not a...
No, that was a highlight. That was a cool moment. I was really worried that week going into it that it was going to get leaked. I mean, the day before with the demo team, we had a full rehearsal of it where they didn't know either. They ran the course. We had cameras on the course. We had the helicopter out. And there was like, I looked around at one point and we had about 50 fucking volunteers, not volunteers. This year's games didn't have a lot of volunteers, 50 staff members. And I was just looking around and they saw it all and they were part of it. And in my mind, I was thinking, all right, there's no way this is going to stay secret. Someone's going to leak this. That didn't happen, and I'm glad it didn't happen. But with a bigger field and more athletes, I do think it would have been easier for someone in that audience to have whispered to someone else or to let someone know what was going on. And at an in-person event, I think it would have been really hard to pull off for a variety of reasons.
Well, that's my favorite stuff. I talk about on this show a lot that sometimes my criticism of CrossFit is the games is it's like these guys have practiced all these movements to prove that they're the fittest people at CrossFit. But I like when you do things that they've, like the obstacle course, something they've never done before that they couldn't have practiced, that they get to prove their fitness in some realm that they've never been involved. Like I saw this thing once where this guy carried a refrigerator around Ireland, and I like give them the weirdest objects that they don't know how to pick up, that they can't use their hook grip or they can't, put on their Oli lifting shoes, and make them do shit that's just pure, engine and strength and they figure it out and they've got to use their minds, and that's the kind of stuff I love. So when you trick them and do stuff like that, or give them, when those guys fell off the what was the cargo net when they fell down.
That was crazy. I'm glad no one got hurt.
I'm glad no one got hurt, but that's it. That's part of the sport.
Yeah. That was it was a good test. I liked the event. I liked the challenge of it. That year actually had really good. That was 18. That year's programming. When you look back, we looked back at it recently, and it was really good and creative and entertaining. I like that year.
Yeah, I love the entertainment, the stuff that's fun to watch too. But that was based on the course down the Coronado course?
No. A couple years before, we'd run O course at the games, really a short and fast sprint event. We still had all that equipment, so we decided let's do another O course at the games, but let's spread it out and make it a little longer and add. They wore body armor on this one, and at one point they carried the dummy. If anything, that entire O course, the concept of it wasn't born out of what the O course in San Diego was built around, but more so off of an O course in Virginia Beach. Okay. So there's SEAL teams in Virginia Beach, and when I first finished Buds, I went to SEAL Team 4, and there.
Which is 4? Are you the one in Germany?
4. Well, so at the time. 4 is based out of Virginia Beach, but at that period when I first became a SEAL, each team had a region of the world. They're not like that anymore. They're kind of more of a global. They deploy to different big areas. But at the time, Team 4 was the South American team.
Okay.
And so I was graduating from Buds, Mexican, black-haired, they assumed I spoke Spanish, send him to the South American team. Anyways, while I was there at Little Creek, that base has this small O course that they call it like a sprint O course. It takes like 2 or 3 minutes to run through at max effort, and it's a really cool course. So the one we ended up building at the games was loosely based on that one. Not entirely, but loosely based on that. Actually, I took Bill Henninger out there and showed him that one as kind of an ideation phase.
Were you pretty good at the O course when you were SEAL?
I got better when I went through Buds, not really middle of the pack as I grew up and developed. I mean, when I went through Buds, I was like 18 or 19. So I was really young and not that strong and not a lot of life experience. But as I matured and developed and I got really into rock climbing and climbing, and the O course became something I became better at and really enjoyed and, improved on immensely from when I first came through in Buds. Swimming too. I sucked at swimming when I went through.
Really?
Like the only thing I realized I was good at when I was going through Buds was running, and which is funny because I didn't grow up doing cross country or any sort of long distance running, and I really wish I would have through high school because I in training to go to Buds, I started realizing and recognizing that that's what I was pretty good at.
What were you good at? What was your secret? I mean, like I've talked to a lot of SEALs on this show, and my cousin was, you might know, my cousin was Robert Smith. He was a captain. He ran Little Creek. Anyway,
I was good at being in the middle of the road. Like I didn't excel at any, especially in Buds. I didn't excel at anything. I was decent at running, but I just did what I needed to do to make it through and run under the radar. Later on, I go through other training selection courses where that kind of was how I just went through, like quiet, taking everything in, not trying to stand out in a good way or a bad way. And it suited me. It served me well through other selection processes.
So your cornrows wouldn't have done well then?
No, my cornrows wouldn't have.
You're Kevin Federline. Look, you've got like, you wear a hat, you look like Tom Cruise. You wear cornrows, you go straight to James Franco in Spring Breakers.
I loved the fucking cornrows.
So did I.
Just because I did it, and just because I can say I did it, and like so many people hated it and hated on it, but I was so happy I did that. And it was a few years before it even happened that I decided, there was a couple things I decided on. I knew I wanted to do cornrows at the games in Carson because Carson, that's like, it's right next to Compton. And I'm like, why not? Here you are. And I knew I needed to do it before I turned 40. Because I was like, once I hit 40, I'm not going to do any crazy shit with my hair because, when I'm 60 or 70, I don't want to be looking back. I don't know why, but I have this whole thing. Like, I don't want to look back and talk about all the crazy things I did with my hair in my 40s, but I have no problem talking about the crazy things I did with my hair when I was in my 30s. It just seems time appropriate.
But there was also this, like, I live in a world where people, one day they're an open micer and the next day they're super famous. Like crazy, weird shit. Like Tiffany Haddish is a really good friend of mine. I don't know if you know her. She's this black female comedian that went from like practically like living out of her car to she's in every single movie right now. And it's such a weird, I've never had the like super fame or any kind of fame really. But I've had touches of it and I've been around people that have it. Like I've opened for the biggest names and I've been on TV shows and stuff like that. And it's like a drug. It's like taking a drug. And you guys in CrossFit had this have this fame that you went from, like, most guys were living in relative obscurity. They're just gym rats to all of a sudden they're like this niche fame that is massive. And it's hard to handle. I try to explain it to a couple of my friends that are big games like athletes that the real world, I've had friends on the show, The Real World, they would have psychiatrists for them to help them after the show because they would have all this fame and then the next season the fame would go away. And I would assume a lot of like games athletes, that happens to them. Like for a period of like 2 to 3 years, they're on top of the world, and then they kind of go back into their normal life, and they still, are involved in CrossFit, but they don't have that fame. And it's
interesting to see how some of them change with it, how some of them parlay it, and then how some of them try to stay relevant once they don't have what you're saying. So you do see, like, especially when we were big on social media and, on ESPN and doing a really good job of telling the story of our sport, it lifted up a lot of athletes and it helped them grow and become big, especially in our community. And then, but the thing is, they have to be winning and they have to be doing well and they have to be going to the games. But seeing some of those athletes that then aren't still in that world, meaning not as competitive and kind of, but yet have such a big following built from that, now trying to stay relevant and trying to reinvent themselves, that's been fascinating to watch.
It is fascinating, and it's sad sometimes and hard, and it's because
Yes.
look, I'm in that world where you could be on like in this clique and it's going well, and then the world turns on that clique, and 2 days later it's this one, and you're going, what do I do now? And you have to reinvent yourself, and it just sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. So I feel for them, but I also feel like this was fame. They almost like locked in, like the guys that are young now that are working towards it. That's like going into football in high school and saying, I'm just going to be the best. But like a lot of these guys, like the Tommy Hackenbrooks and the Spielers and Fronings, they never had any idea that like
none of us did. We never knew they were going to. No, for sure. But you're right. Now there's a generation of athletes who see that success in CrossFit can lead to some decent fame and some decent notoriety in the fitness world.
Where'd you first get into it? Were you in Santa Cruz?
CrossFit?
Or did you just get it, like learn about it from the military?
So I was in the military doing CrossFit, and I got stationed out here at the ranch. And actually, this was my second garage gym I ever built. This is at the ranch where we're at. And while I was stationed, I was going to CrossFit, not CrossFit. I was going to Monterey for the Defense Language Institute. And while I was going there, so here it was. I was living at the ranch. Let me back up and make this clear. I was living at the ranch. I was stationed in Monterey, going to Defense Language Institute to learn Spanish. And I'd been doing CrossFit for about 1 year.
Wait, you're Mexican, but you didn't speak Spanish?
Yes, exactly. And it's always been it's been this thorn in my side my entire life that like I'm not proud of. I really wish I had, and I really wish I put more effort into learning. And it's a generational thing. There was this phase for people of my age. I know a lot of other guys like me, guys and gals, who their parents didn't speak Spanish to them because they wanted to make sure they integrated properly and didn't have any accent. So my family, my mom and dad spoke fluent Spanish. They actually spoke Spanish to each other, but they never spoke it to us. And so we didn't learn it growing up. Living here, going to Monterey, I knew in Santa Cruz that was kind of like the hub. And one day I decided to go over there and just introduce myself and start taking some classes there. And met Greg, started hanging out there, I went to a level 1 seminar. Then he asked me to start helping out at seminars, and just a relationship developed with him. And then I started helping out at seminars. And then I was around all the time, and I just started.
Did you know back then? Were you like, this thing is going to?
No.
No idea?
No idea. Here's where, once I started working for them, I started teaching seminars with them. And like, initially it was like one seminar every 6 to 8 weeks. Then it was like one seminar every 4 weeks. And then it was one every weekend. And you just saw that growing, and you're like, wow, this thing really is taking off. And I was in at that period, and I was helping out, and my role was expanding and developing. And yeah, so then I knew like, yeah, this is going somewhere. And like once the seminar started picking up, I was like, there's something here.
And this is like what year are we talking about?
This is 6, mostly 6. And into 7, yeah. And then in 7, that's when I brought Greg over here to the ranch, and we were walking around, and he was like, hey, this is a really cool place. We should have an event here. And I was like, well, what kind of event? And he's like, I don't know. He said, I've always wanted to do the Woodstock of fitness. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. And he goes, yeah, all right, plan it. Let's do it in July. And I'm like, okay, done. So I started planning the Woodstock of fitness. I went back to Tony Buddy, who was another senior guy on the team at the time. And I said, all right, Greg wants to plan the Woodstock of fitness in July. And the first thing we should do is change the name to the CrossFit Games. I don't remember if it's Tony's idea or my idea to change to the CrossFit Games, but I said we should not call it the Woodstock of Fitness. How about we call it something like the CrossFit Games? And I think we kind of snuck that in there, or maybe told Greg really late in the process. But
is that James won that one? James Fitzgerald? Did he?
That's the one James won. Yep. James won.
Who is the girl that won?
Jolie Gentry. Okay. So she's like a badass SWAT officer. Okay. She's still on a SWAT team. I think she's the commander of the SWAT team now in the Bay Area. I still keep in contact with her every few months, touch base. But yeah, she was in the police department then, and she still is now. So Jolie won. James Fitzgerald won. I think Brett Marshall took second or third, and Josh.
What was your family's ranch? What was the objective of this ranch? Were you?
So my dad was a truck driver, and so was my grandfather. My family was a family of truck drivers. My brother was also a truck driver. He's 7 years older than me. He actually still lives on the property. I don't live here. I live about 15 minutes away. And he, so here I was, a young kid in high school, and my dad was a truck driver. My brother was a truck driver. My brother was a truck mechanic. My mom she worked the books. The whole family revolved around trucking, and I hated trucking. I hated everything about it. I didn't want to drive a truck. I didn't want to be a truck mechanic. So I needed to do something else. And I was going to college, but where I got accepted to California State University, Monterey Bay, which was a new university here in the area. And it was the summer after graduating high school and starting at the university that I saw The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. And that movie, that was the start of essentially me exploring this idea and concept of special forces and Navy SEALs. And then as I was reading about and studying, because when I get into something, I really go all in and like to research and read all the books and watch movies on and the documentaries. And I started researching the SEAL teams, and the thing that kept coming back in all the books I read was how they had the toughest training in the world, in the military. And so
Were you reading the Dick Marcinko books?
Oh, yeah. I read all of his books that he had at the time. And so Rogue Warrior and Warrior Red Cell and all those. So I wondered, this little seed was planted. I wonder if I can do that. I wonder if I have what it takes to make it through. And then once that hit, there was no going back. And I decided to drop out of college because I knew if I didn't do it then, I would never do it. And I didn't want to have any regrets. Like I didn't want to end up going through college and 10 years later think about, remember when I was 19 and I wanted to be a SEAL? I wonder what would have happened if I chased that dream. So I chased the dream, so I wouldn't have to have any regrets. And it obviously it worked out. And the thing is, I would have stayed in and done 20 years. I'd have been like retiring in this time frame right now, maybe a year or two ago. I loved what I did, and I would have stayed in and done it for 20, maybe even more. But the opportunity that Greg provided with CrossFit and that I helped build with CrossFit was too much to turn my back on and stay in the Navy and re-enlist. So there was a phase from 2007 to 2010 when I was active duty and working full-time for CrossFit.
Well, two things. I want to interrupt for a second, a little side note. I had a bit of the same kind of revelation you did, where I was in college and I was like, this is bullshit. And I wanted to get out, and I was running track in college, and I was like, I fuck this. Like, this is a waste of time. And I was like, I want to go into the military. I want to jump out of airplanes. I read all those books and I wanted to do it. And I went and saw my cousin who was a SEAL, and a couple things stopped me. And one was I have terrible eyesight. And he's like, they're not going to let you in. And I was like, I heard I can go to Canada and they can do this surgery. It was like the first LASIK surgeries. He's like, they're not going to let you in. He's like, they're going to. And I was like, I met with recruiters. They told me, he goes, yeah, you're going to be in a submarine somewhere, like reading like radar. He's like, don't listen to them. They're lying to you. He's like, and I was like, can you help me out? He's like, no, you're fucked. He's like, do not sign up for the Navy. Do not. And I was like, okay. And then the other thing he said to me, which, you can probably address it maybe the same way he did, or maybe you have another outlook. He said, do you want to be a trained assassin? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're going to have to kill people. Like, you're going to be told to go somewhere and kill someone. And he's like, can you morally do that? Like, to think about that right now. He goes, the parachuting and the running and the doing this and the off-road, all that fun. That's the fun stuff. He's like, but can you look down a rifle that you're about to, can you do it? And I went, oh, wow. I don't know. I was like, how do you do it? And he goes, I know that I'm protecting my family, my country, you. He's like, you're able to do what you do because of what I do. And he was like, so if you can do that, then you, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm out.
I would never, I would take a different approach. I would never say that to someone who wants to do it. That's a significant part of it, but it's also like, here's the thing, at the stage where you're so highly trained and you're so inoculated to that environment.
Right.
By the time you get to the point where you ever have to do that, you're not going to have any issue with it if you get to that point.
Right.
And I never ran into guys who, when it came to going to combat or going overseas, who had a moral or ethical issue with doing it or going. Again, you just, it's trained into you. Like, you get to a point, maybe in the beginning you do have those feelings, but those go away.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the master plan. I watched him.
And the other thing I'd say is his list of people, or the list of reasons why he did it. There's one thing you didn't say, where I would initially lead with the whole thing. It's like the family, the country, and all that's important. But ultimately, when you're there, I'm doing it for the guys to the left and my right.
Yeah. He did mention that. I'm paraphrasing,
Okay.
but he did say that, and I've heard that from a lot of guys. It's all about protecting your brother and stuff like. And I get that. And I think that's very easy when you're in that situation to go. Yeah, I am definitely going to take care of the guys next.
Yeah.
It's us or them. And come on, I've played paintball.
Never played paintball.
Are you kidding?
No, I've never done paintball, and I've never done. People are always pressuring me to do this event called the Tactical Games. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, Zach does it. Zach Forrest does it.
Yeah, Zach does it.
Zach took me out shooting, and back when I used to do this show with Scott and Armin, Scott was a SWAT team guy.
I know Scott.
And Armin is just a douchebag. And I wanted to have a Wodcast paintball tournament and we were going to do like a 4-on-4. And I found this guy who's like the best paintball player in the world. He's a CrossFit fan, and he listens to the show. He's like the #1 paintball player in the world. And I recruited him for my team. And then I got Zach on my team, and it was like Armin had a team and I had a team, and I was just loading up with like, and Armin was like, I don't want to play this. And I was like, we're going to fucking kill you. But I always thought, like, there's a couple things, like, I've heard you talk about the Froning Fraser thing. I'd love to see that as a pay-per-view, just a one-on-one Froning Fraser $1 million purse. Everybody would watch it. Pay-per-view, you could sell that for, you'd make a fortune. But I
think that's not dead. I believe we can make that happen. I believe I can make that happen. I believe CrossFit can make that happen. I think the Froning Fraser head-to-head, not at the CrossFit Games, but maybe a pay-per-view with a very large purse. That's still in the cards.
You just look at how many people like CrossFit and how many people would pay. Like, if you made it exclusive and it's like, hey, you're paying $49.99 for this thing. I mean, the amount of money that would come into that thing. That would be great. And then something like, I loved when you used to take them up to like Tahoe and do those weird things. I love when you take like a group of these, like, because they're freaks. They're freaks of nature, and you've like built them. It's like you're this Tony Stark that has built these these creatures, and like I'd love to see them play each other in paintball. I'd love to see, just
before paintball. I'd rather see some box, but that's obviously a very different stimulus with different results on the outside at the end of that.
I'll talk to you off air about something that I've been working on for years. That is a concept that I don't want anyone stealing. But if of all the guys you've seen in the games, who do you think would I know I guess you can't tell because of the stress and everything, but do you think any of these guys would make good SEALs?
I wouldn't. You never know.
Too hard to say.
The people who make it through are sometimes the most unassuming.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's just hard to tell. Because he'll put into that stressor in that environment. You just never know. And I don't play that game of trying to, and I don't want to say you'd make a good SEAL, or I never do that, because it's such like why even go there? Because if someone wants to be be heard that they'd be a good SEAL, and wants to hear that they'd be a good SEAL, go to fucking Buds.
Yeah.
And listen to the Navy. I don't like that game.
You'll like this. Hunter went and did the Kokoro camp and cried.
That's awesome.
Because
I'll tell you this, that he would not make it through Buds.
They fucked with him so badly. He went down there thinking he was gonna do what he does, and they pushed him to the point.
That's so great. That's cool.
He's honest about shit like that, though. I called him the other day. I was out mountain biking, and it got really late, and I didn't bring a light, and I had to go down this trail that was like straight downhill, 5 miles, all rocks, and I was like, I'm gonna flip over the handlebars and break my neck and die, and I'm gonna be up here, and my heart rate was like at 170 going downhill because I was just freaking out. And I go, have you ever gotten in a situation like that? And he goes, yeah, I was running this race in, I forget where it was, South America or something. He goes, and I saw some guy that fell in a cactus and like died. And he goes, and I was out in the middle of nowhere. And he goes, I just climbed in the fetal position and cried.
Yeah.
I mean, but he does. He's like, if I called him right now and say, hey, Hunter, I just found a bunch of guys. They want to go do Everest right now. You want to go? He'd be like, all right, what time? When? Where? Pick me up. He's that guy. So that's why I like him, because I can say, do you want to do that? And okay. One day he calls me and he said, have you seen the flooding? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm going to Walmart. I'm going to get as many inflatables as I can get. We're going to go in the river, the creek behind your backyard. And I was like, get over here. It's a flash flood. Hurry. So we took foam board surfboards down a river that people die in, like during a flood. And he's that guy. So, and it's weird. I didn't know a lot of CrossFitters like that, but I was surprised how many guys use their CrossFit for other shit, which I really like. Like Spieler, like Matt Chan, like Pat Barber. Pat Barber took me surfing, and he's like, yeah, I suck at surfing.
He's really good.
Yeah. Sandbagged me, totally took me out to a place where I was going to die. But no, I think you've made...
Especially, you look at the older generation, all those names you just mentioned, those guys have hit a point in their life. Like Spieler wasn't always into mountain biking and motorcycling like he is now. All those guys have hit a point in their life where CrossFit, and especially competing in it, isn't the focal point of their life. Now they have other escapes for it or with it. And yeah, it's a natural progression, because you can do this for a very long time, especially I never see a point in my future where I'm not doing it to train or as fitness. This is the way I'll train for the rest of my life. But in terms of like the competition side, I think guys need to step away. Like, I haven't seen many of these guys. You might say your rank are, but even Bridges and Bailey, like these guys aren't doing the individual side and then going right into the masters and just sticking with it for this continual timeline. Like, I think stepping away from it while still staying fit and training hard and having other pursuits is a natural expression after a number of years of competing.
That was my next question for you. Do you think you've created these monsters and the progression has been ridiculous from like where they were to where they are now? I mean, it's I remember when I used to like look at it like 10 years ago and be like, oh, I think I could, step in. And now I'm like, I couldn't even do round one of that. Do you worry that like these guys go for this like the NFL, they're throwing themselves into this and it's going to hurt them down the road? Like that they're just going to, the body can't handle this.
No, for most, unless you're overtraining or not, it's still a relatively rehabilitative and safe program. The thing is, these guys are training so much, you can make an argument that they're breaking down. They're taking it past where the average gym goer should be. So like the average person should train once a day. These guys are training 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. But a lot of them are doing that. And the other thing too is what a lot of people don't recognize or see is they didn't do that overnight. They have a foundation. Like they got to that point.
Right.
So some like they say Steeler, you hear Steelers' knees are trash. Interestingly, I still see him doing a lot of deep squats and doing a lot of things that are very demanding on that part of the body. But I think some will train to a point where they get injured, but I don't think it's going to be the norm because of the nature of the training stimulus and how this is the way we should all be moving and this is what we should be doing for the rest of our lives. They're just doing it at this.
Did you ever get caught up in that? Did you ever start doing like 2 a day or 3 a day? Never, ever.
Never got into 2 a days. Never got into 2 a days. Always just one hard session because I come from like the old school CrossFit and like that's what, there was this phase where I was traveling every weekend with Greg and Tony and Nicole and like really hearing Greg's message over and over and just really like the old school way of doing it, one session a day, really hard. Like it just stuck with me and I saw a lot of results from it. So that's all I ever, and still to this day do. Now that doesn't mean like I won't do a little extra cool down or a little extra, like I'm talking like I'm not doing multiple hard sessions ever, really.
Because I've seen you get a little competitive and you get, what did I see?
Very competitive. And that's also one of the reasons why I don't want to compete in CrossFit. I've never wanted to compete because I don't want to be super competitive in this realm.
Yeah.
In the realm I'm in my life that I do for a livelihood.
You've got to choose that. If you decide, that's the same with me. This is just one little aspect of my life because I don't want to lock into this like 110. I can't imagine what it's like working out 3 times a day. Like more power to those guys, but I just couldn't be in the gym.
I don't even think I could train that much and be at the level. I know I can't. I know I couldn't be train that much and be at the level they're at. So I don't even like. I had never had any interest in diving into it that hardcore. I've never done a CrossFit competition.
Wow.
Other than the Open. I've obviously done the Open, but I've never competed in the CrossFit.
I've seen you're good. You're really good at Annie. I saw you do it with the GHD sit-ups and the double unders. Is that your event?
It was, not anymore. I tweaked my ab a number of years back, so I still have this little ab issue. So, there was one year I wanted to do GHD Annie Unbroken, so I trained for that, and I did it in like 8 minutes, 8:50 or something like that.
What's your Murph? Have you? I know you've done Murph.
I've done Murph a lot. I couldn't even tell you my best. Like that's the thing. Like maybe 40, mid 40s. I'm not like all geeked out over my numbers either like that. There's some things like I know my best friend ever is a 302. I think my best Helen's like 8:15. But there's a lot of workouts I don't even remember like what my best scores are at this point because I've been doing it for so long. I don't have a good system of logging.
That's my biggest problem with CrossFit, that there isn't an accurate world record list. Like I hated the games when they would go, a new world record is broken today. I'm like, that's the first time that's been programmed. Like you can't call it a world record.
I actually had a little bit of an issue with that too.
I just was like,
the world record, like it sounded as if they'd been doing this event for the last 50 years.
Yeah, I get if they did Helen or if they did Fran or they did that and that's a new world record. Like Hunter this year, because he's a media whore, did Murph and tried to break the world record, and a lot of people were pissed off at him. And I think he did set it. I think he ran it like 34 or something. Whatever he did, I literally went around and tried to find anyone who could break it, and no one could. Some guy beat him right next to him, but then we went back and looked, and all his they were counting Hunter's reps. They didn't count this guy's reps, and Hunter's all bummed out because he finishes behind his buddy, and we're like, wait a minute, the guy didn't do one fucking pull up, and so. I like that because I feel like this year people will go and try to break Hunter's record, and a lot of people will break it. And I would like to see somewhere where there's a real accurate, because talk about progression, to say like, here is, like we saw some girl do a really good Fran time, and who was it? I had Noah on here. Noah thought for a while Noah had a pretty good Fran time. He was at like 201 or 157, something crazy, 158, I think. And it's like, show the video, show the reps, and let's see it. Let's see what you can do. Because I know there are some outliers out there, and that's where you're going to shine. You're going to beat Matt Fraser in Helen. You're going to, let's see you. Who are you, freak?
I would like to know his time in some of those workouts. Like, I'd like to know Matt Fraser's Helen time. I'd like to know his Fran time. Because every time we do anything like that in the games or any type of work, he usually has one of the best times.
Yeah.
So I imagine he'd have one of the best times in either of those workouts.
I'd like to see his mile time, how fast he can run a mile, because the way his build is, the fact that he can move that fast just impresses me so much.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he should be a fast runner.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'd like to see that. I'm still, one of my problems with CrossFit, I feel like the swimming is a real weakness. I noticed in the games this year that the 2 winners of that swim event were the only 2 that used bilateral breathing.
Interesting.
Samuel and Tia. And it was like, wow, these guys still, like, the amount of time they're putting in a pool and they're not doing bilateral breathing.
Interestingly, when I was there watching it, especially on the men's side, it seemed like the men all got into the water relatively at the same, whenever they got in the water, it seems like their position or rank didn't change much. They all held their spots pretty consistently. Like, there wasn't one guy who was just blowing by everybody, even Samuel. But on the women's side, Tia was noticeably much faster than all the other women. They'd get in sometimes in front of her, and she'd end up passing them all.
Yeah.
So she definitely, and I did notice she was breathing from both sides after every strokes.
I think that breathing probably changed their heart rate for when they would get out to have to do the workout part of it, or and it just it just caught me that I was like, wow, these are the only 2 that did it, and they won. I've always said that if, like, you broke down CrossFitters or CrossFit, like the games or the competition model, the guys, if you took gymnasts, swimmers, runners, Olympic lifters, and you took those, like, take the best Olympic lifter, the best gymnast, the best swimmer, the best runner, and put them in the CrossFit games, the one that's going to do the best is the Olympic lifter, I believe. You might say gymnastics.
I would say gymnastics. Well, it just depends too on what they're at this point, so at this point in the development of fitness, there's a good chance the weightlifter has also played around with rings or handstand push-ups. Sure. So, and there's a good chance that the weightlifter had even started in CrossFit. I don't think you'd say that as much about a gymnast. I don't think in the gymnastics world you're seeing them as much playing around with the barbell. So you're probably right. The weightlifter might have the advantage there, but it'd be interesting to see what they have, their background was first.
So, a day in the life of Dave Castro, what do you do now? Like, seems like, you guys are so elusive. Everybody's like, where the fuck, like, where's office? Where do these guys live? Where do they work? They're always in like 700. I always thought I traveled a lot. You guys are always in different places and different, like 17 different homes.
Not 17 different homes for me. That's for damn sure. So, I moved back up here a couple years ago, right before the 2018 games. I lived in Carlsbad. I lived in San Diego for like almost a decade. And once I got back up here, my lifestyle started revolving kind of around the ranch. So a typical day now is I'll wake up, I'll read from anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, depending on if I have any call. And I usually wake up around 6.
When you say read, does that mean Instagram comments or?
No, it doesn't mean Instagram comments. It means an actual book. And I read a lot now. I started this ritual of reading so much about 3 or 4 years ago.
What kind of stuff? What do you read?
Everything, classics. I try to stay away from. Let me not even say try. I completely stay away from self-help books. I completely stay away from leadership books. I completely stay away from inspirational books. I completely stay away from business books, and I completely stay away from Navy SEAL books by other Navy SEALs.
Because they're all written by your friends.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them. A lot of the books written, not necessarily friends, people I knew, people I know of, obviously. And you know, I think that's I have strong feelings on that whole notion, especially some of the guys who wrote about some of the things they did specifically overseas. I'm not a huge fan of. So I stay away from all of those books.
Yeah, I get that. I've heard that. Like, there's a lot of times, like, I've met a lot of SEALs through this and through my cousin and stuff. And yeah, I always find, like, you ask them, there's a really good chunk of you guys who are just like, I don't want to talk about this. And then they always say a SEAL, what's the saying? They won't tell you anything. It's all secret unless you're a hot chick in a bar. And then they'll tell you everything.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, we came up with a silent professional ethos and brought up where you were not supposed to talk about what you did. And what we did is very privileged and only for, it's a lot of it's classified. And then so this realm of people talking about it and feeling the need to share with the world their accolades was so foreign to me as a 12-year operator in that world. Interestingly, to some degree, I think it's a problem or a fault of the Navy. Actually, even the SEAL team. There was a period where they did a movie. What the fuck was it called? It was a movie, and it was while I was in or just about to get out. It was a movie that they did as a recruiting effort, and they used real active.
Oh, I know it. Valor, active valor.
Active valor, and a few of my friends, Rourke, and a few other guys were in it. Active valor, and it was a movie that the Navy
financed it. They financed the entire film,
endorsed and put out. Well, what message is that sending to our troops, our sailors, and our guys? If the Navy can, I don't want to say profit off of, but use Hollywood to make a movie to get as a recruiting tool, because that's essentially what all those efforts are by the Navy. Why wouldn't a guy then go write a book about his accolades? And why wouldn't the individual SEALs then try to be in movies, do movies?
But it's also, my problem with it is it's like, hello, terrorists. Hello, Russia. Hello, China. Hey, this is what we have. This is what we do. This is how our teams work together. So when you ever get in a conflict with us, don't go this way, because this is the way that, like, I never understand why we telegraph or why these politicians get on and start talking about our weapons and our stuff. It's like, can you shut the fuck up and have some secrecy so we don't?
I know, that's weird. There's this like world now where everything should be, for public consumption, and everything should be out there in full transparency. And especially in our special operations, I don't think that's the case. And especially on some of our missions that we do, there's a reason why that shit is secret or top secret and shouldn't be shared with the world. So yeah, I have an issue with it. So I don't read SEAL books.
Yeah. And
I don't watch military movies anymore, SEAL movies especially. Some of this stuff's also too close to home for me. Like I don't need to relive like what it's like on deployment in Afghanistan. And I don't even not want to I don't want to relive it. I need to avoid trying to relive some of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I contacted a friend recently who lives in Montana. He's a cowboy. He like went to college on a scholarship for rodeo. And I said, I'm watching Yellowstone. Is this what it's like to be a cowboy? He's like, dude, don't even ask me that. He's like, that's like me watching like, I forget what TV show or something and asking you if that's what it's like to be a comedian. He goes, those aren't cowboys. He's like, just shut up. I was like, all right, I got you. So they do a million TV shows, sitcoms, and things about stand-ups, and it's like that's not what it's like.
How is that Yellowstone series?
Oh, it's fucking awesome.
Kevin Costner in it, right?
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's the best show I've seen. My father-in-law made me sit down and watch it. My father-in-law is this like grufty former NFL football player, and he's just like the hard as fucking nails, and he's like, watch this show. And I was like, why? He's like, it's like Sopranos. He's like,
do you watch Navy SEALs on CBS?
No,
neither do I, but I know of it.
I can't watch any of that stuff anymore either. I think I'm a little tainted by the fact that it became so popular.
Yeah, and it's horrible. That's one of the reasons why I tried going into that role, was to go against what's popular and counterculture even, and to see it now being so mainstream even. I feel like, especially SEAL Team 6, and like this shit is like part of pop culture and mainstream culture, and like everyone knows what these things are, and you see in the video games they have all the gear and all the stuff that guys would use, and I'm like, how did it get to this point? Well, I know how it got to this point.
Yeah.
Everyone started talking about it and writing books about it, and that story I just gave of Act of Valor.
And you were in from what year to what year?
So I enlisted in 97, and then I got out in 2010.
Yeah. So that's back. I mean, my interest peaked around like 92. And I was like, this is, and then it became, I mean, I obviously don't know if I ever could have come close. I mean, I probably not even close.
You never know.
No, I don't. I was an ocean lifeguard in New Jersey, and one of our guys left, and we all thought we were like the most bad. You know, we'd go on a mile swim in the morning and then a 3-mile like timed run right afterwards, and we all thought we were, you know, all we did was work out all day long. And one of our guys left, like the most badass guy, left to go to the Navy. He was going to be a Navy SEAL, and we saw him like 3 weeks later. and we were all like, oh fuck, if Sweeney didn't make it, no one's gonna make it. Like, no one could ever do that. So I've always put you guys on a pedestal for that. And I put you on a pedestal. Like I said, I'm hypercritical of everyone just because that's what I do as a comedian. And I probably have shit on you on the show many, many times. But I give credit where credit's due. And I think what you do in putting together the games, knowing what it's like to put together events, and like I produce shows and I've produced a TV show, and it's fucking war. It's impossible. And when I watch people get critical of you, I'm like, you have no idea the enormity of what is going on, and the fact that this is being pulled off with relatively few flaws, like that you're picking on something that is so grandiose. So like, I just wish people could try to put together an event like this and to see the moving parts, and then the fact that you have to work on like the strategy and the making sure, like when someone like Neil Maddox lifts up the sled and is able to like what do you do when this gets through?
When Matt Mursky was bouncing the bar in 2009 off the ground here at the ranch.
It's like all of a sudden you've got this crazy decision to make. And I wish people would give you, and I think they do. I think you get a lot of credit, but I
think it's interesting you say that. In the last few years, I started saying, wow, honestly, after maybe even I went on social media and became a little more transparent with who I am, I started feeling a little more appreciation than I had in the past. There was a period where I didn't feel like I got any appreciation or any support.
Probably because you only heard the haters.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
here's the thing about that too is when it comes to like the affiliates and the train, like that type of community, a lot of support, a ton of support. But it's like when you get to the fans and beyond, that's where you see some of that other negativity. And at this point too, like, I really don't look for that stuff, or I really don't. If I do a post and I start to see it trending that direction, I tune out of my comments on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I tune out of my comments all the time. I'll see the first few, and then as I see the change is getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, I'm out.
Well, I learned something a long time ago, because it used to really, I did sports radio in year 2000 for a couple of years, and sports radio is full of the most vicious psychopaths in the world. And this is like before the internet was getting like huge, and people were just, I had sites devoted to like hating me, because I was doing sports radio in New York City. I was on mornings on WNEW, Opie and Anthony were the afternoons, and I had people that wanted to kill me, like murder me. And I used to invite them down to fight me. I would be like, do you want to fight me? And they're like, yeah. Would they be callers? I'd be like, I will fight you. And they're like, and I'd be like, meet me downstairs. I'd tell them the address of the building. We were on 57th Street. They would come down.
All on air?
I would drop water balloons out the window on their heads while they were waiting for me. And I'd be like, fuck you. I'm not coming down, you idiot. And I just would, but it made great radio. I mean, there's a guy, Craig Glazer, he's a CBS sports.
Jay Glazer.
Yeah, well, he and I almost got in a fist fight on air. I like went over the counter at him. I mean, sports radio.
He's a pretty big guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a juice head. He's an MMA guy though now. I think he'd probably like snap me in half. But a lot of it was theater. And a lot of it was, you understand, with the haters, you're not going to have the success without the haters. And so I had to deal with that. And it was hard in the beginning, really, really hard. I'd go to roasts and they would all be made. When I was a young comedian, I'd walk in. I remember the biggest, those roasts that we do on Comedy Central. I walked into one of the roasts and the comedian leading the roast goes, I'd like to thank all the comedians and Eddie Ifft for coming tonight. And I was like 24 years old and I just wanted to like roll up in a ball. They just
like it'd be a lot of fun. The roasts.
Once you get it, once you realize, like, if you ever come to LA, I'll take you to a roast battle at the comedy store. It's like late at night. It's one of the funniest things in the whole world. I judge it a lot. Like and there's always like a panel of judges that are really like the a lot of big names and then me. And it's so much fun because we even pick on them. But the whole room is just, there's like racism is acceptable, sexism's acceptable, misogyny's acceptable. People are making fun of people's dead parents. Everything is.
Have comedians though been canceled over some of those topics you just mentioned?
Yes, but weirdly in this room, it's almost like porn's never going to get canceled. You know what I mean? You think of the stuff that goes on in porn, you're not going to be like, wow, he was a little aggressive with her. It's in this roasting room. And I said, like, that's the truth is the reason we're like that and we get away with it is because we're not sexist. We're not misogynist. We're not racist. Like, we're all friends. And we're just like punching our friend and they're punching us back and we're having the best time. And it's the world should learn from it. And all this PC bullshit would go away because they're all full of shit. They're the ones that actually are this stuff. They're the ones that are racist to say, I need to protect these people because I'm better than them. But
who do you look up to?
A comedian, a guy named Doug Stanhope.
Okay, what about the names?
Doug is like the comedian's comedian. Like there's two guys, Dave Attell and Doug Stanhope. Dave Attell used to have the show Insomniac. Okay. And I open for Dave sometimes, and Dave is the best living comedian when it comes to joke writing. And then Doug Stanhope has the most insightful view of comedy there is. When you talk about counterculture, just go Google some of his shit. It's like Bill Hicks, but better.
What do you think of like Kevin Hart and some of the big names?
So Kevin lives right up the street from me and used to open for me. So when Kevin,
how things have changed.
Yep. So when Kevin walks into the club and they tell me that I'm not going on because Kevin's there, I want to strangle. I tell him, I'm like, you little motherfucker.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, Kevin is Kevin. Kevin is very entertaining and he's a great actor. And but I've got a list of stand-ups that there's only a few that I would listen to.
What about Dave Chappelle?
Dave Chappelle and I used to be good friends. And I have a funny story about Chappelle one time that Chappelle, I might have told it on the show once or twice, but when I was really young, Chappelle kind of took me under his wing and I wasn't a big pot smoker at all. And I would get high with him because I was like, I'm hanging out with Dave Chappelle. And this is right after Half Baked. And one time he came to my show and I was at Caroline's Comedy Club. He comes in and he goes, hey, you going on? I was like, yeah. And he's like, you want to smoke some weed? And I was like, I'd never smoked weed before I went on stage. And I was like, I don't think I should. He's like, come on. And we went in the stairwell. And I figured if Dave's doing this. It's acceptable. This is before it was legal. So I smoke weed. I go on stage, and I only told setups to jokes, no punchlines. Like I would go, hey, don't you hate when you can't get a cab late at night? Do you ever notice how and I couldn't do a punchline because I kept like losing my train of thought and started to get paranoid. And I bombed so bad, like practically almost booed off stage. And then Chappelle decided to jump up and go on stage and kills. And kills. And I'm so embarrassed that he just saw me bomb like that. And we get off stage and I go, like we're back in the green room and I go, how'd you do that? He goes, what do you mean? I go, like I couldn't. And I go, how did you do that? And he goes, every day, my friend, every day.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
But there's just, I guess it's like music or whatever, where there's the people that are super famous. And then underneath, there's people that are just amazing. Yeah, like really talented. And so I like the craft of it. So I like these guys that, there's a guy right now that I like, Kellen Erskine, who nobody knows this guy. I mean, he's done some TV stuff, but I'm like, this is one of the most brilliant comedians I've ever seen. And
what about Rogan? Is he a decent comedian?
Rogan's a great comedian. Like people don't realize Rogan thinks like no one thinks. He goes for like the hard stuff. He never goes easy. There's easy stuff, low-hanging fruit that everyone can make fun of. Rogan goes for tougher, tries to be really insightful. When I was young, I'm not much younger than him, but when I was young, I used to watch him on TV, and I was like, I like this guy. He's so dirty. He was so dirty, and I was like, I can't believe you could do that. And I started out as a really dirty comedian because that's what I found funny. And but no, Rogan's good, and he works. There's no one. He's weird. It's like he's got like 9. I think there's 9 Joe Rogans. And like one works on stand up all day long. One works on like martial arts. One works on archery. One works on podcasting. And they all like pretend like he's got like twins. You know, they're like, I really do think that because he said to me once that he read, he loves this book like Musashi, about some Japanese swordsman or something.
Yeah, Miyamoto Musashi.
That's it. And Musashi said, if you can be great at one thing, you can be great at everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that the saying? I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I know of him. I don't know his book though.
But that's Rogan's mentality is like, take what you do in martial arts and put it towards archery. Take what you do in archery, put it towards stand up. And he just makes me feel bad about myself. Because I just, I almost got him to do CrossFit.
I think he's kind of a CrossFit hater.
Okay, so it's weird. It's very, very weird. I was probably on.
I think it's weird. I think it's weird that he's never had any CrossFit personality. Froning, Fraser, Glassman, me, anyone in the CrossFit ecosystem on his show.
So I've pitched them all to him. And he's put on people. He's had Kelly on. I got Kelly Starrett. I told him to put Kelly on, and I think Rob Wolf. It was funny.
Rob's a hater. I mean, that's like.
But no, Rob talked to him about like started him on like the whole paleo eating and everything. I talked to him.
I don't consider Rob a CrossFitter anymore.
So episode 77 of Rogan's podcast, I'm on. That's how long ago I did it. Like that was the first. That was the first time I was on. And I said, I think I talked to him about why you eat grass-fed meat, like why you should. And I talk about CrossFit, and he said to me, and it was very interesting. He's super alpha male, and his point was, take your best CrossFitter, take your Matt Fraser, and I'll take my worst jiu-jitsu guy from my gym. And he's like, he'll beat Matt Fraser up, like in a fight. And he's like, ultimately, when it comes to like being the alpha male, who's going to win when it comes down to like apocalyptic situation is, and that's why because he always said to me, I was going to take Krav Maga, and he's like, why are you wasting your time? He's like, every fight's going to the ground. You want to learn to fight on the ground, learn jiu-jitsu.
But that's a big so what? Like, I'd say that, like, so what? Like, that's not what our guy's trying to do. Our guy's not trying to do.
Right. I think he does.
and take those same jiu-jitsu people and put them in a tactical environment with us. And guess what? They'll shit themselves and they'll run out the door. Or take those same jiu-jitsu badasses and put them in a fucking few days of buds and they'll cry.
Yeah.
And they'll shit themselves.
Yeah.
So it's,
you're right. And I don't think he's a hater because he has said a million times that he does believe that CrossFit is really good conditioning for martial arts.
Yeah.
I think he's just on the, I think CrossFit put out, and I've mentioned a million times where I think CrossFit went wrong was that there was a public relations snafu where everybody, the general public got this idea that you get hurt doing CrossFit. And I think that happened because people walking into the gym after watching the CrossFit Games and going, I can do this. And 2 weeks later going, oh my God, I dislocated my shoulder. And it was like, well, you didn't listen. You didn't do what you're supposed to. Or maybe they did it on their own or whatever they did and said, I'm doing CrossFit. And so that just got out to the general public. And I don't think Joe ever got he said, if I did jujitsu, he'd do CrossFit. He goes, you come, and it's called claustrophobic. Like, I don't like being trapped. And he was like, you come do jujitsu. I was like, I don't want to roll around with sweaty dudes. And I don't want to that's my problem with it. And I don't want to if I could wrestle girls, I would, you put naked women in there. I'll do it every day. But don't, I just never called and said, hey, come to CrossFit. But I think he lives pretty close to, used to live pretty close to me. And I could have taken him right down to Mike Tremello's gym over in Agora. And I just never did it. I should have, because I think he would have a completely different perspective of it.
Yeah.
And, when Froning was in town, I tried to get Froning on the show. And sometimes Joe, I'll recommend people and he'll put them on. And then sometimes he's just doesn't answer my emails for a year.
He's pretty big time now, that's for sure.
I would rather do Joe's show than do Jimmy Kimmel. Every single show on TV combined. I'm not kidding. It would do more for my career. Every time I go on his show, it's like, oh my God. To this day, when I perform places, people go, oh yeah, I saw you on Joe Rogan, or I heard you on Joe Rogan. That's why I'm coming to see you. Yeah, he's done more for comedians. I can't say a bad word about the guy. He's done more for comedians than anyone in recent history.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he gives back. He does give back a lot, which, that's one of the cool things. But I would have loved to have heard Glassman talk to him.
Oh yeah, that would have been fucking mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
That would have been, that should still happen. That still can happen. Glassman's not dead. That's just funny. Everyone's acting like he just fucking disappeared off the face of the earth. It should still happen. And you know what? Now more than ever.
I was just going to say.
Rogan should talk. Now is the perfect time. Hey, imagine Greg's return to the public eye first time being on fucking Rogan.
Unbelievable. What a great conversation. And unbelievable, because I'm sure Greg signed some kind of NDA or something. I'm sure that he can't speak for a long time, but
it's worth trying. It's worth seeing. I would love to see it.
I am looking forward to if Donald Trump ever goes on Rogan.
Do you think he will?
I think he would have if he hadn't lost. I think he would have gone on, or he would have gone on to help. I'm surprised he didn't help his campaign, because when Bernie Sanders was on, it was pretty interesting. And Joe just does a really good job of I wish I had a tenth of the skill of Joe Rogan when it comes to interviewing people. He's just so good at asking all the right questions. But no, I'd love to hear you on there. Like I said, I'll send him a tweet. He won't write back. That's where I talked to him on direct messaging. like I've got it. I think he changes phones like every week because I have like 3 different phone numbers for him. And he's when I see him at the clubs, we talk and we hang out. But he's a pretty fucking powerful dude. So what have we learned today? We've learned that that we're gonna have a one pay-per-view Froning Fraser. That's what I want to see. 2, I want to see all the CrossFit Games athletes go to the obstacle course in Coronado. Can we make that happen?
That might be hard, but that'd be fun to do. We took our training staff there one year and ran our level 1 seminar staff through it, and that was a lot of fun.
What's harder, the indoor? I saw one that you guys do in a pool.
There might be. So the one that we did in the pool, there was a couple on the East Coast, 2 different teams that had a pool course, and those were really challenging because it was Ninja Challenge stuff when Ninja Challenge was big, and it's all upper body. I don't know if the West Coast teams, they might now. I've been out for a number of years. They might have a pool one too, but the ones I've seen, the ones I've experienced from the East Coast, I wouldn't think those would be. You would have seen them because they're pretty, low key on putting that stuff out.
Okay, and then there was one other thing I wanted to ask you about. What happened to Drywall?
There's so many of those guys. And
they're gone.
That all disappeared. And I don't know. There was even before Drywall. Who was the other? There was like
Ben Smith's dad. Ben Smith's dad. He's the one that's.
There was one that really. I didn't go after many of them, but there was one that really pissed me off, and I forgot what he did. But our team found out that he was actually in the fucking Navy, and he was doing all this shit from Virginia Beach while active duty Navy. So I went ahead and fucking dropped a note to his man. And I said, hey, guys, I just want to let you know there's a sailor on your fucking unit who's coming after people like myself and others in our community in a really negative.
I think that might have been Ben Smith's dad because he said, I've had to, they got me at work, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Maybe it was him. Yeah.
There's a lot of fitness.
There's actually 2 I went after, like, I kind of put a little work into. The other was a guy he worked at a bank in fucking Costa Mesa in Orange County, and he was a professional, and he moonlighted as a complete asshole. And we discovered who he was, and same thing, sent a little note to his fucking leadership.
God, you guys sound like there's this porn company I read about in the New York Times, and I forget their name, xart.com. Didn't come to me very quickly.
No, not at all.
They make all their money by basically all their shit's behind a paywall, but everybody steals it. Well, if you steal it, they have a lawyer that figures out and finds out that you stole it. Then they go to you and they start a court case with you where they are going to take you to court. And you're stealing pornography and you're going to go to court for it, which is going to show up in all kinds of records and your employers are going to find out and everything. And then they just settle with you out of court.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We weren't that bad. I mean, there was a lot. So there's a lot of those guys out there. And there was only a couple that I remember saying to our team, let's give it to them. And that's how. And it was never like, I never wanted to do it publicly. I always wanted to kind of just make their personal life a little miserable. Come in from the back. Come in like special.
Well, that's why I always felt like, why are you going to poke? You don't poke a guy like you because of my buddy was.
But you guys, I mean, you and Armin have poked me a number of times over the years. And you know what? We never went after you guys. And I think probably because you guys are public and there's no, like, at least you stand with, like, here's who I am and I'm saying this. Yeah. That, I don't have a problem with that. It's the people who do it under, like,
an alias. I used to hate the anonymity of the internet. You know what? To this day, I write back to all my haters. I say, I don't take criticism online. You have to do it. You have to do it in person. I write that to every single one of them. I'm like, because even if you are physically, you're going to like I dare you still to come say it to my face because you probably won't because we'll probably end up having a beer together. And that's what I found about most of these people. It's just pulling to the pigtails. And it's like, you just want to be my friend, don't you? Like, you know, why are you doing this shit? And that's what Armin was doing the whole time. The best is when you guys had him kicked out of the games. It was the best fucking thing ever. It was great for our show. I loved every second of it. I've never laughed so hard in my entire life. And it was awesome. It was awesome when like guys in black suits showed up and were like, Armin Hammer? And he's like, yeah.
I don't even remember why we kicked him out.
I don't know, but it was so funny. We were and
he still like makes a big deal about it. I remember at the press conference at the 19 games, he was so proud to say, I'm just happy to be back and allowed. And like, I was like, dude, why did we even kick you out? What did you say or do 5 years ago?
Well, it was just great when they went Armin. They came back in after they threw him out. They're like, Armin is persona non gratis at this event. And we were like, Kenny Kane and I were like, can we stay? And they were like, yeah, you're okay. And I was like, damn, I want to get kicked out. You know, like that would have been like punk rock. But one time I was talking to Rory, and Rory wrote back to me and he was like, dude, you work with this guy, Armin Amir. He's like, fuck you. And he like got really mad at me. He's like, you work with this guy? And I'm like, that's not me. Just because I work with him doesn't mean I say the things he says or act like he does. And he was like, no, fuck you. If you're with a hater, you are a hater. And I wrote back to Rory. I wrote, fuck you. I go on TV and radio and talk good about CrossFit. I'm a good ambassador. You want to fucking like, don't make an enemy out of me. I'm cool to you guys. And I go, I might make fun of you like at times here and there, but it's like I said, I do that to all my friends. So yeah, it's been a fun road. And I mean, I can't thank you enough for doing the show. I just wish you hadn't done all those other podcasts. If this could have been an exclusive, and
all right,
you don't need money. Come on, we all know that.
I'm not doing any of them for money.
But I'm saying like that's exactly what. I mean, like, I couldn't have paid you. I'm trying to think why you would have only done the Wodcast podcast.
Look at our hats are the same color.
I know. What is that? Is that a CrossFit hat?
No, it's like my little logo hat.
You got your own. So I want to know though, what does Dave? Your workload seems to me something that takes 50 people, and yet you're sitting here talking to me. You're gonna go shoot some pigs in the backyard. Go for a run.
Not anymore. I killed them all.
How do you like when is it a season? Like you're kind of like you get to lay low for a little bit, and then when the open's coming around, or you have a lot of people that work for you.
We got a good team. There's not really a season. This stuff is year round, especially now and with the new team and the demands coming up in terms of just like scaling and growing everything. I don't work a hourly schedule. I work chaotic hours. I work in sprints throughout multiple times throughout the day.
How's your wife like that?
Used to it.
You don't have kids?
Yeah, 2 girls.
Oh God. So, oh my God. How do you?
Yeah, I have a wife and 2 girls. Keep them completely out of the, I don't want to say the limelight, but out of the public view, because I have 700,000 followers. I don't have 700,000 friends.
Right.
I don't have 700 friends.
I don't blame you one bit. I tried to do that for a number of years where I wouldn't even say my wife's name on the show. I used to do a podcast called Talking Shit with a comedian named Jim Jeffries, and we had a huge fan base, and it was ugly. It was ugly. I mean, your haters were nothing compared to ours. Are people, we'd have pictures of them like standing with 2 AR-15s and they'd be naked saying like, I'm going to kill you, Eddie, on their chest. Like stuff like that. I mean, we had that stuff happen. Crazy stuff. I had a guy threaten to kill me. And then he did it a bunch of times. I was like, dude, it's not funny anymore. And then he said, your wife's this, you live it. He knew my address, everything. And then he killed himself.
Jeez.
And so I was very, very private for a long, long time. And then it just got to the point where I couldn't be. Like, it was impossible. And I don't know how you do it, but I commend you. But how old are your kids?
11 and 15.
Okay. So I just don't understand how you do everything you do with having kids, having a wife. Like, I always thought Dave Castro was like this single dude that could just do whatever he wants to do all the time.
Well, this year, so travel this year has been obviously a lot less, and we did the games here. So I've had more routine in my life this year than ever. Especially when you look at our peak when we were doing the opens and the regionals, there was a lot of travel that was happening in my life throughout my whole career, throughout my whole adulthood, from the Navy period into the CrossFit period. But with everything that's happened this year, I've had more routine and less travel than ever. And that's actually been really nice and healthy. And so that's been one of the bright sides of society shutting down.
Yeah, it's weird. I always say I have nothing to do because I have like basically my career, yet I've had more to do than I've ever. My wife makes me wake up. We have a 1.5-year-old. My wife makes me wake up at like 5 a.m. with him every day. And I'm like, I never had to do this.
I'm gonna have to go in a minute.
Okay, I'll let you go. I wanted to ask you one last thing. Nothing. No, I just want to thank you. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for everything you do with CrossFit. Even your haters or lovers, I know you don't think that, but it's like I know from my experience with my show, they were listening, and there's a reason that they're listening because they love it. So, and I knew from our end that he was just pulling your pigtails because he wanted to be your best friend more than anything in the whole world.
I told him we were supposed to do an interview recently.
Next time he asks, say, "Look, I talked to Eddie, and I probably shouldn't do it."
All right, I will. Not like he can watch this.
But thank you. I'm going to send it to him now. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for being on the show. I'm going to stop the recording. I got a question for you. And thanks for listening, guys.